Now, JW, in your book, I found a quote that said, "The more we know what is meaningful to one another, the deeper connections we are able to make." Now, what I want to know is, does this apply to the business client relationship on social media and the content that we create?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So let me kind of frame this up. So is your job, is your religion meaningful to you?
To me?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's my whole entire life, but I don't call it religion per se. I call it a relationship.
Right. So your relationship with God, right?
Right, exactly.
So that's already meaningful to you in your brain. That meaning, which in your relationship with God and your business. I mean, you love doing social media. You love helping people develop their businesses, right?
Right.
So that's meaningful to you. Every time you engage in a meaningful act, this is a fascinating thing. It increases these neurotransmitters called dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine that allows you to focus more intently on what you find meaningful to you. This is why when I talk to you sometimes you can rip off Bible passages, right? I can rip off neurotransmitters. We have different things that are meaningful to us, but we've got a problem in our education system. When you were a child and you were starting first grade and all the way through school, and did anybody ever ask you what's meaningful to you?
I don't remember that ever being asked to me.
We don't do that. It's first grade, dude. Get your act together, put that backpack on your back, act like a mule, go to 8 hours a day of school for the next 15 years, and then you come out, get yourself a job, make yourself some money, get married, have some kids. But what happens? We end up stressed, anxious, fearful. We're not fulfilled. We're not happy. We're not joyful, basically because nobody started at the beginning. That is what was meaningful to us at a young age. So what happens is if we don't know what's meaningful and other people don't know what's meaningful to us at a young age, they drop us on tracks that don't make us happy.
Right.
So and you know what you ought to do? You ought to be a programmer. You ought to learn, X's and O's and figure out how to, and ones and whatever, and figure out how to ones and zeros and figure out how to program stuff. Would that make you happy?
No.
So what happens is, because nobody asked you as a child, or really anybody watching this, what was most meaningful to in your life right now, even at 7 years old, what we did is we told you what should be meaningful to you. A good job, a lot of money, a sweet car, which may not be meaningful to us. It may be art. It may be literature. It may be creating new things in technology, even at a young age. So what happens is, as a child coming out of the womb, you were born with an overabundance of neurons in one part of your brain that nobody else on the face of the earth has. What that means is you're a genius. It's something that nobody else in the species is. But the education system does not recognize that. What happens is they drop us all into like a conveyor belt manufacturing process. Matter of fact, when the educational system was first developed in Germany, really the Prussians did it. They developed it on a mechanistic model, like the way you could build soldiers to protect your country. So what they did is they started to treat children like machine parts. And that if they put enough of the parts in their brain, at the end would come out a perfect human. So we got this conveyor belt, 45 minutes, bell rings, the next 45 minutes, geography, the next 45 minutes, history. What is the scientific basis for that? There isn't any. So right. What happens is we end up, as I was saying, we become like mules, packed with backpacks on our back full of books. Not anymore, we got iPads. But basically what happens is we end up doing what is meaningful to other people.
Right.
If you didn't know that A was meaningful to other people, you wouldn't go after it. You'd go after what was meaningful to you. So what happens, because you're born with this overabundance of structures in your brain that makes you pick out things in the environment that are more meaningful to you than somebody else. Now that we've reduced down, you can find this in the book Cracking the Learning Code and on our website, but thelearningcode.com. But the important part to understand is that when you're born with this gift, you get 20 watts of power through your carotid and vertebral arteries, and that naturally goes to your gift. So what that means is that as you're going through the world, if the world is supplying you with what's meaningful to you, that gift grows and grows and grows. You take, Mozart or Beethoven, what was meaningful to them was music. They went through the world, now they made different music because each one of us have different structures. But in the area of music, they started off as geniuses, and then because they stayed in it at a young age, those structures that were already a gift to them got bigger and bigger, and then what they were able to do was create magic in the universe. Now, the opposite happens today in our education system. Ask yourself, if you've got this overabundance of neurons in one part of your brain that makes you a genius at something that the rest of the 7.5 billion of us in the planet aren't, what happens when we shift the blood flow away from your gift? You get 20 watts of power, glucose and oxygen, from your carotid and your vertebral artery, and it goes to your brain, to that gift. And what happens is, if that isn't stimulated, what do you think happens to that locus of neuron?
It shrinks. Yeah. But we're seeing a revolution, JW, in, for one thing, homeschooling. Parents are starting to homeschool, and they're learning how to develop things that are meaningful to their children into their homeschooling. The other thing is, we're seeing a revolution in freelancing. So many people are starting to freelance, and when they're freelancing, they're stepping back into what's meaningful to them. They're learning how to step back into what's meaningful to them.